Here's what's coming up on today's show.
Instead of looking at it from the back door, I would say, what is the retirement that you want? And then how much does the business have to sell for or be to help you realize that retirement income?
Welcome to the How Money Works podcast with Craig and Jennifer Moser of Maestro Wealth Advisors, serving you throughout the Triad of North Carolina for more than 30 years.
Welcome in once again to How Money Works Radio. Thank you for tuning into the program with the team from Maestro Wealth Advisors, serving you here in the Triad. Great content lined up today. We're going to talk about business owners a fair bit on this week's show. And if you've got some questions, concerns, need some help, reach out to the family team that is the Mosers at Maestro Wealth Advisors. You can talk with Craig, Jennifer, Cameron, and the whole team there by calling 336-448-1086. That's 336-448-1086. Craig's a financial advisor and certified financial planner. Jennifer's a financial advisor and certified exit planning advisor. And Cameron is a financial advisor and an accredited asset management specialist. So got a great team there to help you out and get you to and through your retirement journey. 336-448-1086. Let's talk business this week. Jen, how you doing?
Doing great. We've got a lot of alphabetic characters after our names, right?
you guys are making me work, yeah,
and
for sure.
I got to tell, I haven't told Craig this. So the other day, someone was talking to me, and they said, Are you Craig's daughter? I said, no. I started laughing. I said, no.
She didn't tell me that one.
No, I said, I'm his wife. And he goes, oh, okay, that makes sense. So anyway, so if you're listening to the show, we are the only husband-wife show on the radio talking about retirement and financial planning. And I think that brings a unique perspective to you as you're listening, because I guess, what men are from Mars and women are from Venus. We kind of come at it at a different angle, right?
Yeah.
To solve the same situation.
My situation is I go home and we're talking about it. We come here and we're talking about it. I swear I'm in the shower and she goes, hey, did you? And it'll always, I'm like, look.
Whip out that memo pad. Baby.
That's right. Put it, write it on the wall of the thing there with the steam on it. Yeah.
So I like this show because we're gonna start out again with email from listeners and business owners. We love our business owners because Craig and I, we are business owners. So we can kind of relate with as we get those business owners into our office and talking about the trials, tribulations, and advantages. We have a unique perspective.
Yeah, and the whole show's going to be business related, really. So
it is.
We'll dive in and get started. If you'd like to submit your own question to the team, go to maestrowealth.com. Again, maestrowealth.com, or send an email to info@maestrowealth.com. And Kay's in High Point, and she said, we're trying to find a buyer for my husband's business so that he can retire, but it's been a challenge trying to find the right fit. We own the building that it's in, where he works from. Would we be better off just to close the business and rent out the building, or what's your thoughts?
So I guess my thoughts are, why do you have to pick one or the other? But let's take a step back, Kay. First of all, congratulations. So I'm assuming that you and your husband, and I'm going to say you, even though you say it's your husband's business, you've been a part of it. He's drug you along whether you wanted to or not in building this business. So you don't have to do it alone. So finding that buyer, you don't have to do it alone. It sounds like you are trying to do everything yourself. Depending upon in your industry and the size, we at Maestro Wealth have the resources at our disposal that we can introduce you to, M&A firms and walk you through that process for you to get the top dollar that you need out of that lifetime of toil and sweat that you've put into it. So just remember, you don't have to do it alone. It's a conversation to start with to see, who would be a good suitable buyer. Can we basically, sell your business at top dollar to whom? What does it look like? It's really a process. It's not kind of a one and done. So that's the first thing. So now back to the either or, okay. So you can sell the business and you can also continue owning and holding that property, where you can then potentially rent to the new buyer of your business, or that buyer, takes your business somewhere else, you can then rent to someone else. So I would look at those as two distinct things: selling a business, maintaining the property. They don't have to be one and the same. Income in retirement from that rental property could be pretty valuable to you and your husband. You haven't given me a name for your husband, so I'm going to call him husband. Okay, but you can use that income currently just for that income in retirement Also, if done correctly, you can basically take, I don't know what your cost basis is in the building. I don't know what the current market value is in the building. If you were to sell that building outright, you may have a huge tax problem. So what I would do is look at potentially, looking at that, you can always do a 1031 later and kick that tax bomb down the lane and potentially never pay taxes on any capital gains of that building if you pass it down to heirs. So a lot of things to talk about and unwrap that really makes sense for you to sit down with a qualified person. Now, I'm going to toot our own horns here. I am a certified exit planning advisor trained to look at these types of situations and walk you through the process of growing your business and then being able to sell that business at the right time and on your terms. We've got the resources here, and Craig is a certified financial planner here at Maestro Wealth. So, Kay, thanks for the question. I think other people have a similar, may have a similar situation, but I would recommend sitting down with us, 336-448-1086, complimentary, no obligation. Love to uncover and unpack the opportunities and the potential that you have. And I'm excited for you for this next chapter and what it can do for you.
Well, great question again. Thank you so much for submitting that into the program. Again, send your own at info@maestrowealth.com. That's info@maestrowealth.com or call 336-448-1086. Well, let's just keep the business theme rolling, as I said earlier, guys. Yeah. So we'll transition into talking about planning for business owners. Business owners are particularly vulnerable to some misconceptions and some false assumptions out there. So let's start breaking down a few of these. The classic, I guess, Jen, is probably if I execute my business plan, my retirement plan will take care of itself.
Yeah, I think that's, when you think about it, I mean, I'm looking at Craig and myself. When we come in at 7 o'clock, we leave at 7 o'clock sometimes. So all of our energy is in that business. Our thought processes are always thinking about the business. How do we make the business better, grow it, develop our employees. And so sometimes that personal side, that non-business side gets, left behind or is second fiddle. And as my grandmother used to say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't think that if I just grow my business, that everything else will be okay in retirement. As a business owner, you have a tremendous opportunity to build wealth and take advantage of all the tax benefits that aren't present for the traditional W-2ers out there. You can do a lot of expenses. You can, do a lot of things, buying within the business, that kind of thing that a lot of people with W-2 wage earners aren't able to do. So make sure you're taking advantage of that, but don't exclude saving outside of your business. That's really a good way to provide a rich retirement. So you've got your business and you've got your outside investments providing, two sides of that retirement structure. Another grandmother comment is, you can have your cake and eat it too. So you can build a business and you can also invest outside to make sure you have a strong foundation for that retirement, which is going to come.
And it doesn't always have to be stocks and bonds. I mean, investing in real estate is a great place to be, looking at all the things that are happening out in front of us. If you think about it, your business plan should include having outside investments that you don't just rely on that one thing as being the single source of your net worth as you retire.
I'm glad you said that, Craig, because one of the things as an employer, as a business owner, you can pick the correct employer retirement plan for your company, whether it's a simple IRA, a SEP IRA, or a 401k. So that's one thing that you can strategically do to create wealth outside of your business is getting the right retirement plan in place. And if you have questions on that, we can walk you through the best or the better solution for you, depending upon your employee structure and what your goals are. That number is 336-448-1086 to walk through what type of retirement plan you have. Don't ignore Social Security benefits. We have a lot of business owners that say, I'm just going to put money into my business. I'm going to really skimp on my salary, and I don't really care about the Social Security benefits. But really, all you have to do is have 10 years of earning history to be able to be eligible for Social Security benefits, which truly is a foundational element of your retirement. And don't ignore that. It's something that can be there. It's not hard to achieve and get in that foundation of your retirement. So a lot of business owners forget that. I would open up HSA accounts for future medical costs. If you're a business owner, maybe you're providing medical plans for your employees, maybe not. But don't forget about the high deductible in medical plans that would allow you to do an HSA. HSA is a health savings account, the only triple tax advantaged tool that you have for investment. You get a tax deduction in the year that you make an HSA contribution. It grows tax deferred. And if you take that money out for medical expenses, we recommend in the future, don't do it as a buy as you go plan. It's tax free. So triple tax advantage, the only account that's out there. Roth is only double tax advantage. And then the other thing, people who put too much money in their business and not save outside, Craig, is that, you can't sell part of your business to pay for that child's education or a wedding, right? Or pay for a vacation or down payment. You've got to have assets outside of your business to be able to handle life events. So it's really imperative that you do that.
But owning a business is a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing if you understand. Work with a good tax planner, work with a good financial planner, and then work hard at your business, and you will have a very prosperous thing. But there's things that you need, like Jennifer said, to be able to branch out and make sure that you cover all the bases and not just focus on one single thing.
You're listening to Craig Moser, a certified financial planner and financial advisor, and Jennifer Moser, a financial advisor and certified exit planning advisor. Today's show is all about business owners and things that business owners should think about, should contemplate in order to make their business grow better and be better and sell better, but also to make their life situation better as well. Our number is 336-448-1086. Give us a call. Sit down with us for a complimentary no-cost consultation to walk through your questions as a business owner, and we can help you with your situation. Again, our number 336-448-1086.
Get yourself onto the calendar for a consultation and review at 336-448-1086. No cost, no obligation, no reason not to pick up that phone and give them a call. 336-448-1086 to get started today. Again, 336-448-1086, or find them online at maestrowealth.com. That's maestrowealth.com. And don't forget to check out the podcast version of the radio program as well as their YouTube channel. All that content there at maestrowealth.com. So guys, we're talking about kind of misconceptions and assumptions that business owners sometimes have when it comes to, getting ready for their future self, their retirement as it comes down the pike. And some other ones we want to cover here is folks that maybe say something like, I don't necessarily have a lot of money saved or put away in the bank, but the business, or I have a high net worth when you factor in the value of the business, so that should help me, right, in retirement. Why is that a misconception, Craig? And what's kind of the thought process there for folks?
You've got the SEPA in here.
Well, okay, SEPA, come on in, SEPA.
Yeah, I'll jump in and then Craig can interrupt.
Force
politely.
the habit, sorry.
That's all right. So, great. I'm glad you have a high net worth. The question is, though, is your business sellable? Okay. A lot of people, think, what's that Kevin Costner baseball movie, Build It and They Will Come?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams. So not necessarily every business with a high net worth is sellable or will be selling at the dollar that you expect it to have. What could go wrong? Okay. A couple things, right? Basically, you need to think about the business. Would you buy this business if you were outside the business? Is the business relying too much on you to run it day to day?
That's what I was going to say. I didn't want to jump in, but are you the business, or do you have a business that runs without you? These are a lot of things that you really need to think of when you say, okay, I have this thing, it's paying me well, but can I transfer it for value to someone else that can carry that same banner forward, or is it pretty much going to stop when I stop?
Right. So the question is, are you too much in the every day to day that if you were to leave, when was the last time, a famous question, when's the last time you actually took a vacation for 2 weeks or more and felt good about the business running without you? That's something you need to think about.
Right.
Next is maybe, are you too reliant on one or two customers bringing in most of your sales? Are you heavily dependent on those? What happens if one of those customers jumps ship and goes to the competition?
Great point.
Does that impact you overall? Do you have a way to solve solve for that. So are you too highly reliant on that? Maybe there's a few key people. Maybe it's not you that the business runs on and can't run without, but maybe there's 2 or 3 or 1 or 2 key people that you've got to have in the business. They know the sales, or they drive the creativity or whatever. What happens if they were to, disability, death, or, they leave? Are you too reliant on that? So you really need to think about the value of your business and how do you monetize that value. So there are ways to look at this and analyze it and to overcome these things. But you've got to start now and actually working with a qualified advisor to actually think of your business on the day-to-day. You're growing their business at one point, and at any time you can say, I'm ready to sell, and be ready to sell at top dollar. But it starts with a conversation today and getting on the calendar, and let's look through what you have in place to make sure that you are growing the business. You've got your processes in place and all the different tools that you need to make sure you are able to sell at top dollar and where you think. And our number is 336-448-1086. We will walk this road with you to get you, valued correctly with your business. 336-448-1086. Another misconception business owners have, guys, is when I sell the business, I'll make more than enough to support myself in retirement.
And that's true. Maybe. We had clients, sold his business, did a really good job, I think. But the eye-opener was the tax. He sold a multi-franchise business, had a good top-line number. But when you started working through all the things that he had done as a business owner to avoid taxes or do pre-sales with like those little credit card things that you can do, all of a sudden, when the tax thing came back, it was like the jaw dropped. He's like, man, I'm paying a 7-figure tax thing that I didn't anticipate paying that much on. So we had to work pretty hard to get his income, their income, I should say, to the point to where they could stay retired and not have to go back into another business. It was a fun case to do, but at the end of the day, it took a lot to get the cash flow right. You remember that one?
Yeah, I do. And I kind of want to change your mentality about this a little bit, because it says, when I sell the business, will I make enough to support myself? Instead of looking at it from the back door, I would say, what is the retirement that you want? And then how much does the business have to sell for or be to help you realize that retirement income? And let's get your business to that level versus I'm going to have a retirement with whatever I sell it at. Right. So it's a different mentality, and walking through this process gets you to the right place where you can really maximize the value of that business.
So we have a dear friend and client, was in Chicago, had a business, and he started early on the planning, and he said several years ago, he said, how much do I need to have to give me this when I quit? And so at the end of it, it was a fun conversation when I said, you are there. And he's like, really? And then on top of that, we helped him to structure a business sale that paid him out over maybe 5 or 6 years. So it wasn't as brutal an installment. And it worked well. And he was able to structure things like continuing to own a vehicle through the business that he owned as he sold it off, and various things like that. And his retirement had a smoother glide path, if you will, to be able to do that. We had him talk to some good qualified commercial real estate people. So he had some real estate, he had a healthy retirement account, and he had this business sale to slide him down into retirement over time.
I want to give another example too of being able to sell your business, and it may be that you're not able to sell that business outright. Maybe you have to do some owner financing. We had a bar owner about 5 to 6 years ago who had their mothership, but they wanted to expand. They opened up another location, and they had someone there who was going to run it. Well, that person wasn't really financially sound that could just buy him outright. So, they had already thought about, okay, I'm going to have this owner financing. I know what the terms are, the interest rate, whatever. I'm good to go. What do you think? Well, that was a pregnant, what do you think question, right? So if you ask the Mosers, what do you think? We're going to tell you what we think. So, the questions were, well, what happens if this person becomes disabled or dies? How are they going to pay you back? How are you going to get your money back out of this? And they were like, Oh, I didn't think about that. So that's why it's important as you're structuring your exit plan, making sure that you have the qualified people on your team to ask those questions to make sure you don't have any loose ends, because there may be different ways to I hate to say skin the cat because that's not good for the PETA people, but different ways to tackle a problem. And you want to make sure you've thought about things that can be disruptors and to mess up the plan. And that's why it's important. And that's why I'm going to give the phone number again. If you're a business owner and you've got questions, give us a call, 336-448-1086. Let's sit down with you and talk about your individual situation to make sure we get the best plan possible. 336-448-1086, maestrowealth.com. Last thing that business owners might have a problem with misconceptions or false assumptions. My family is going to take over the business, so they'll take care of me. And we've got a lot of business owners
like
in that situation,
yes.
Right? So thinking that you're going to pass the business down to a family member, that's pretty routine if you've got someone that
can step into those shoes.
Normal assumption, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, normal assumption, yeah. But it may not be the best thing if you haven't thought it through. I ran some statistics on this on generational, businesses. Even though the lifespan of family businesses tend to be longer than non-family, the success rate of generational longevity wanes as you go from second to third generation. Let me just throw 3 stats out there. Average lifespan of a family-owned business in the U.S. is roughly 24 years compared to significantly shorter lifespans of non-family firms. So that's a positive thing, right? It's good to have family in the business. Yay, Mosers at Maestro. One report even shows that 74% of family businesses have been in operation for 30 years or more, which is another good statistic. But here's where the generational, successive passing has a problem. Approximately 30% of family businesses successfully transition to the second generation and only 12% into the third and a mere 3% to the fourth. So you can see 30%, 12%, 3%. So you've got to do this well. Couple things for you to think about is it's okay for that next generation to buy in. Have a little skin in the game. Don't just give them the business. People have more of an appreciation of things that you've bought, right? Think of things that, you've gotten gifts or whatever, or you've actually spent your hard money and bought. You have a little bit more pride in that, and you have a little bit more stick-to-itiveness if you've got some money in the
Plus, if you're hoping that they're going to continue to pay you, which is a typical strategy, I'll just have them pay me a salary or some sort of draw on the dividend, if you will. You've got to make sure that that's contractual. You've got to make sure that they can do it, or your plan falls apart. They have to have the cash flow to be able to pay you, although you might not be a participating employee in the company, so you're actually overhead and not production, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so those are things that as you're starting to put this plan together, you're looking maybe 5 to 7 years ahead, which you should if you're going to sell your business. Get everything tuned up the proper way. Make sure that it's built to last and that you've put some things in there to protect yourself so that you can have the lifestyle that you want.
And I think having a clearly defined process of transition, identify the triggers and the metrics on how you're going to transition the management, how you're going to transition the ownership, define the role, your role exiting, and then the role of the heir apparent coming in. Make sure all that is documented. If you don't know how to do it, you don't have to do it alone. We know how to get you there and who to talk to make sure you've got this plan and you've got that coach along the way. You've spent a lifetime building this enterprise, whatever it is. That's your legacy. Don't fumble the ball on the goal line. Maestro Wealth can assist you in developing this process and get you the resources you need to make this transition successful. We'll help you address legacy concerns for those family members that may not even be in the business. How are you going to even up that legacy if you've got one child in the business and one not? We'll walk you through that process and make sure that you feel good about all aspects of your retirement plan, not just your business valuation and exiting from that business. Being a certified exit planning advisor, we do have the resources here and the methodology to get you where you need to be and ask those pertinent questions to make sure that we don't fumble the ball and you don't fumble the ball on the goal line. Pertinent questions. Our number, 336-448-1086. We've given the number out throughout the show, but again, the number is 336-448-1086. It starts with you giving us a call, and let's sitting down with you to go over your questions and your issues in your life, and hopefully we can be a resource for you. It would be an honor. Give us a call, 336-448-1086.
As always, thank you for your time here on How Money Works with the great team from Maestro Wealth Advisors, serving you here in the Triad, 336-448-1086. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. If you have any questions about what we've discussed, remember, you can get a complimentary financial review with the team at Maestro Wealth Advisors by calling 336-448-1086. Or go online to howmoneyworksradio.com for other great resources and ways to reach the team. You can also check the show notes of today's episode for our contact information as well. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite app so you never miss an episode. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all the most popular apps. For Craig and Jennifer Moser, I'm Mark Killian. We'll talk to you next time on the How Money Works podcast.
Craig Moser is a financial advisor and certified financial planner. Securities offered through Avantax Investment Services, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Avantax Advisory Services. Insurance services offered through Avantax Affiliated Insurance Agency.